Okay, so what we can do here is bring up some information that may help us when we're modeling in Maya. And so for that, we can go to the display option here and heads up display. And heads up display means it's going to show us certain information. And what I tend to use when it comes to modeling in Maya is, first of all, where are you? The poly count. Click on it, and it gives us some information here. Now you might think, what the heck is all of this? Well, let's take a look at it. I'm going to just scale this up so we can actually just see it better as well. And so you have vertices, and it gives us information. Now, to get to component mode in Maya, so you can actually deform and model these objects, you right click, and it gives us certain components like edge, vertex, vertex face, face, multi, UV, and then it gives us these sub options, and then object mode. Now object mode is the default mode, and you know when you're in object mode because it's highlighted green. So I'm just going to click off it, and there you go, it is deselected. When you select it, it highlights green, so you're in object mode. And normally if you choose a component like edge, for example, it turns blue. So we've got edge, vertex. Vertex face doesn't do anything, it just gives you information, so just ignore that. And then you got face. And so the three main component modes are edge, vertex face. Multi just allows you to kind of skip between three, so you can go to selecting an edge, selecting a face, selecting a vertex, or you can do it individually. So for example, if you select edge, you can only select edges. There you go. And then vertex, you can select a vertex. There we go. I'm going to hit Q, or this here, to remove the pivot, and you can see when you select a vertex it's highlighted in yellow, and then in edge it's highlighted in red. Now in your version of Maya it might highlight in orange, and I believe the reason why mine highlights in red is because ages ago I think I changed the colour and I kind of just stuck with it. And anyway, so, and then you got faces, and if you select a face it highlights red. There you go. Okay, so let's take a look at this heads-up display. So verts 382, 382, 0. So what it's telling us is that there is a total of 382 vertices. So let's go to vertex mode. As you can see, there's 382 vertex. Now it says 1, and that's because we've got 1 selected. You see, I'm going to click off 0. There are no vertices selected. 1, 1 vertex selected. Right, let's go to edges. Let's select an edge. 1 edge selected. Let's go to face. There's 1 face selected. Click off it. No faces selected. 1 face selected. Now triangles and UVs, just leave them alone. I don't deal with triangles. And UVs is to do with texturing, and so we're not going to be texturing at the minute. So this just gives you information, and so there's a total of 382 vertices, 780 edges, and 400 faces. And so it's repeated there. And why is it repeated there? And the reason why it's repeated is in case we have more than one object in the scene. And normally when you're creating a model, you're going to have more than one object in the scene. So let's just move this out of the way and create a cube. So just click on it. We can just scale it up. Now if you take a look, I'm going to deselect the cube now. So what do we have here? Vertices 380. Okay, let's select the sphere 380. Now, no, sorry, 390. It's so small here, and I'm wearing glasses, and sometimes it's difficult to see. And so I'm going to have to increase the size of this font at some point. And so vertices, you got 390. But now it says 382. Why? That's because this first column adds the sphere and the cube together to give you a total of 390. Now this just says 8 because we only have the cube selected. Now I'm going to select the sphere, 382, because we have the sphere selected. So the first column gives you the total of the two objects combined. The second column gives you the total of the object you have selected. And again, the third column gives you the components which you've already demonstrated. So let's just demonstrate that again. So I'm going to go to face, select a face, one face selected. There you go. And so this is how you use the heads-up display. It gives you information, and one of the thing I tend to use, and this is towards the end when I'm setting up a camera ready to render my model, is if you go again to heads-up display, is to switch on the focal length, and there's 35mm in it. 35mm is the camera lens, and so as you can see, this is 35mm. And so what is 35mm? Why is it important? Well, one, it's just the default setting, and two, if you know anything about camera lenses, it allows you to create a certain amount of distortion or a look to your scene. So we can select the camera here, boom, and then as you can see here, you got 35mm. Now if we do something like 12 and zoom in, can you see the distortion? Look at that perspective distortion. It looks really big here at the front of the cube, and then the back of the cube looks way smaller, and that's because of perspective distortion. So we're using a really wide camera lens, that's a 12. And the opposite of that is to use a telescopic lens. So if you do something like 200 and then zoom out, you minimize the distortion. So if you take a look at this cube now, the front and the back are more or less identical. As you can see, there's no distortion whatsoever. And a better way of demonstrating that is just to make this long, and if you take a look, you can see the front and the back are more or less the same size. And so click on this camera icon again, and let's go to 12, and now let's take a look. So if you see the front of the cube here, look how big it is, and look at the back of the cube, look how small it is. And so you've got a very big distortion here, and so this is good if you want to create this kind of scene. It's usually used in like horror movies to create some kind of nightmarish scenario and stuff like that. So there you go. Now by default it's 35mm. I also tend to put it at 50 because apparently 50mm is how the human eye sees objects in real life. So you've only got minimum distortion. So if you take a look at here at the front and then at the back, it's only just slightly smaller. And so there you go. So we've got the heads-up display for the information here, and also the focal length of the camera here. Okie dokie, so that's the end of this video.